Now will we see the magic?
All right, where's Murray? Okay, who is it?
This is Jesus, kid.
Know then that it is the year 10,191.
Yes, we are bored. We're all bored now.
Hi, good night.
Good night.
Hello, and welcome to Mary vs. the Movies with your host, Mary Jones.
And Dennis Ling.
Sure. All right, so it's summertime, right?
It's summertime.
While we're recording this, it's August.
Yep.
And I wanted to watch a couple movies that are very, well, I mean, saying that they're beachy is maybe a stretch, but I'm pretty sure that this one has at least some stuff set by an ocean. Do you know why?
Why?
Because this episode is Point Break. Now, I'm pretty sure that the title refers to like where the waves break when it comes to surfing. Because I'm pretty sure that this is a movie I've never seen, and a lot of people I know have seen this movie because it stars Keanu Reeves and it stars Patrick Swayze, although for some reason I thought it was Val Kilmer, but it's not.
I could see that.
I don't know why I had it in my head that it was Val Kilmer, but as far as I know, it's Patrick Swayze.
Man, Anne spoiled it.
No, she didn't spoil it. I had to look. I looked up how long this movie is out of
Yeah.
curiosity, and like the first thing that comes up is like starring Patrick Swayze. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the show, Patrick Swayze. I don't think we've seen him since episode 5, 4.
So we haven't seen him since Roadhouse?
No, I don't think so.
Huh.
I know, wild, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a bunch of movies of his that we've just not covered for the. I don't know if it's a bunch of movies, but anyway.
Now you saw Outsiders, right?
I did, but I've never seen Rumblefish.
I forget. Is he in Rumblefish?
Do I
don't
know? How would I know? The whole point of this show is that I've never seen any of the movies that we're watching, so I have no idea.
But you know a little bit.
That's the other point of this show is I'm going to try to describe what I think happens in this movie without having ever seen it.
Oh.
Yeah. What do you mean, oh? wait a minute. Wait a minute. What is this? Oh.
Oh.
Oh? What did you think this show is?
I don't know.
Yeah. This is not the Mary Jones Happy Fun Time Good Hour.
It's not?
No. Where's my backup band? Where are the Happy Good Fun Time Hour dancers? You know, I didn't grow up with like the variety show culture, so I'm just making a guess like from watching The Simpsons what happens in those shows.
Yeah, that's pretty close.
Yeah, is it? Okay. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what Donnie Murray was.
Although a little dumber.
A little Oh no.
Yeah.
Yikes. So yeah, this movie, as far as I know, is this a Jerry Bruckheimer thing? It has that feel. No. I take that back. One thing I do know about this movie, why do I know this? I don't know. This is actually directed by a woman.
Yep.
This is Catherine Bigelow, who was she married to James Cameron?
I think.
Yeah. Not that that's important. It just sticks in my head. No, she directed Zero Dark 30, I think. Yeah, this is an action film, and it stars Keanu Reeves is an FBI agent. Patrick Swayze is a surfer who is a thief. He robs banks. Does he wear masks of the presidents? I think this is the movie where he wears masks of the presidents or something like that. He wears a Nixon mask, I think.
Huh.
I'm not sure if I'm right about this or if I'm confusing this with another movie because I feel like it was referenced in The Dark Knight. But I don't know. I honestly don't know. I might be conflating a whole bunch of action movies. I feel like this movie's been referenced in other films.
Yeah.
So I think The Dark Knight is referencing it, although at the same time because the opening of that is a bank robbery, and I think they're wearing masks, but also it's supposed to be kind of referencing Heat, and I only saw Heat once and I barely remember anything about it. For whatever reason, I was not swept up by Heat. I probably need to see it. Yeah, don't look at me like that. I know. I'll see it again. Maybe we'll even cover it because I don't remember anything that happens in that movie. In Point Break, as far as I know, Patrick Swayze is the leader of a gang of guys who go around robbing banks dressed like presidents. They're wearing presidential masks.
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves is the FBI agent trying to catch them. Oh, and Patrick Swayze is a surfer.
Oh, okay.
I think, because that is the Point Break reference. Now, why the whole idea of like where the wave crests and that's like, why is that the title? I don't know why it's the title. But I'm pretty sure I'm right about this. Keanu Reeves is the guy trying to catch Patrick Swayze. And here's where...
It's like Donnie Brasco.
I've seen Donnie Brasco. That's a good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not like Donnie Brasco, because Donnie Brasco, the whole idea is that he's on the inside.
Oh.
Wait, did you just give me a clue?
I don't know.
Oh my God. Is Keanu Reeves like trying to like sidle up to Patrick Swayze in this? Does that explain the whole like homoerotic vibes that I'm getting from this?
There's homoerotic vibes?
Is there? Because because the only other thing I think I know, now I don't know if this is from Point Break or if this is from like a different movie. Like I've seen Hot Fuzz, the Edgar Wright movie. So Nick Frost is the other cop in that, the one who's like the local cop.
Yeah.
And when his father's exposed as a member of the murderous cult, he fires his gun in the air while he's laying on the ground, and he's all like really distraught because he can't fire it at his dad.
Oh.
If I remember correctly, it's his dad. It's been a while since I've seen that movie, although I like that movie. Yeah. And I think that was a reference to this movie.
Huh.
I think. I might be wrong.
Hmm.
See, that's the thing. Like, there's a whole bunch of like cop movies and action movies from this time period. This is when like Jerry Bruckheimer was a big deal, and Michael Bay was making a name for himself with movies like Con Air and The Rock, both of which we're going to cover at some point because I've never seen either of them. But
I will say there's a lot of memes that come out of this film. You've probably seen a bunch of them.
And not realized what I was looking
and
at.
I think you're going to recognize stuff like, oh, that's where this comes from. Oh, that's where this comes from.
So is this like when somebody sits and watches like Casablanca or It's a Wonderful Life and goes, oh, is that what that's referencing?
Yeah.
This is going to be my Casablanca?
Yeah, this is Casablanca. It's exactly like Casablanca.
Casablanca, one of my favorite films of all time, but
Yeah.
this is now going to become like the most referenced film I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Point Break.
Yeah.
The movie with Patrick Swayze.
Right.
And Keanu Reeves. Awesome. I seriously cannot wait for this.
Who is the Sidney Greenstreet of Point Break?
God, who would be
Who's the Peter Lorre?
well, I mean, if it's 1992 or 1991, the Peter Lorre of any film should be Steve Buscemi.
Of course.
But then you ask who's the Sidney Greenstreet, and my first thought is John Goodman. But I know he's not in this movie
Yeah.
because I've seen a lot of John Goodman films, and this is not one of them.
Oh man, that would put you over the top.
Oh God, I think I would explode from delight.
I know. If both of them were in it. Sheesh.
I mean, there's a reason why I've watched every Coen Brothers film. And not just Coen Brothers. No, I mean, look, I love Steve Buscemi. I love John Goodman. They're not in this film.
Yeah.
My heart is broken. I don't even know if I want to watch this now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I am very excited to watch this movie.
Yeah.
I'm excited to finally understand what everybody's talking about. Mm-hmm. So my impression is strong homoerotic vibes.
Huh.
Because if I am referencing the right scene, Keanu Reeves is on the ground. He can't fire on Patrick Swayze because he's like secretly in love with him, but the film will never really truly admit that he's in love with him. Although that's what I'm kind of curious to find out. What do we actually see on screen between them? No, I'm serious. Look, I'm not saying we're gonna get like a makeout scene, but I'm like, are we gonna get a strong emotional pull between Keanu Reeves and the guy he's trying to capture? Does Patrick Swayze get away in the end? I don't know. You know, does Keanu get in trouble for like not being a tough enough cop on him? I don't know. You brought up Donnie Brasco. Great movie. You know, the whole sense of, is Johnny Depp betraying Al Pacino in that? I mean, it kind of feels that way in the end, but it's not. I mean, he is doing his job.
I think for me, like, it was more that Johnny Depp and Keanu Reeves were kind of the same at the time for me.
Oh, I kind of see where you're going with that.
Like, they were both kind of quirky actors that were trying to be more serious or something.
So yeah, I mean, this is what Keanu's like first attempt at being an action star.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, because like before this, I mean, we saw him in River's Edge.
Yeah.
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure is a film that I loved since childhood. I mean, I saw it in the theaters and everything. Seen it many times. He was in movies like Parenthood, which, you know, family drama. Mm-hmm. But he was doing stuff like that. He's
in I Love You to Death.
I've never seen I Love You to Death, and I kind of want to cover that because that's Kevin Kline, right?
Yeah.
And Tracy Ullman?
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to cover that at some point. What is between this and The Matrix?
So there's Speed,
Oh, Speed. God.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I've never seen Speed.
And Speed is kind of like his comeback because
Yeah.
I feel like he did like, I don't know, he did. Feel like he did not Lawnmower Man, but Neuro something.
Oh,
And
is it Johnny Mnemonic?
yeah, that.
Yeah. That's right, Johnny Mnemonic, which I, again, never saw.
Yeah.
It's funny. I'm very familiar with his 80s work. I am not familiar at all with his 90s work. Like, I think the next movie of him, so I saw like Dracula, obviously, because Dracula rocks.
Dracula.
I'm not saying he's good in it, but that rocks. And he's in Much Ado About Nothing. But I did not see anything after that until I guess The Matrix.
Yeah.
And everybody's seen The Matrix. So yeah.
Do you like The Matrix?
I
like
don't
The
know.
Matrix.
I mean, it's more that I admire the Wachowskis, and I think I support what they do, even if I'm just not into The Matrix. Look. When I saw The Matrix, everybody was just like, "This is the greatest movie ever made," and I was just like, "It is not the greatest movie ever made. Get away from me."
Yeah.
I came at it through a very contrarian lens, and so I don't trust my own opinions of The Matrix. I did not like the sequel.
See, I was lucky. I went to see it, and I had no idea what it was. I'm like, why are you guys taking me to this movie? And then I was like, oh wow, that was fun.
See, that's so much better.
It was like completely like that, and what's it called? Blair Witch Project. I had no idea what that was at all.
I went into that just knowing, this is a scary movie, and you know what? It was a scary movie.
I didn't even know that. I was just like, this is popular. I don't know why. It's the days before the X app would tell you about these things.
No. There's no such thing as the X app.
Sorry.
All right, just to purge.
All right.
Everything you just said from my head.
Yeah.
Shall we?
Yeah.
Shall we go watch the movie?
Sure.
When I learned to walk, humans roam the earth. I can't hold my breath anymore. I stopped thinking, learned to surf. When I learned to talk, I found words that weren't what dirt. I can't hold my breath anymore. I stopped swimming, learned to surf. When I learned to
Now, this isn't important to people who are older than me, and it's not important to people who are younger than me. But, yeah, I hear you laughing. But, in 1991, Nirvana releases the video for Smells Like Teen Spirit. Now, look, I know, to some people, like Nirvana, who cares, not a big deal. They were just doing stuff that other people were doing better, whatever. Yes, I know, the Pixies had already gotten there, or fine. That's not what's important, okay? What's important is I watched this video when I am 12 years old. And for me, because I'm 12, it's like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, I had a little bit of an inkling of, kind of alternative music, but it wasn't even called alternative yet, to be honest. It was still being called things like postmodern music or postmodern rock or college rock. The biggest band that come out of that scene, it was REM, but REM at this point was making Out of Time, which is like a softer record, let's be honest. So Nirvana comes on, and you gotta remember, like, everything that was on MTV at the time is like hair metal, but it's not even like the cool fun stuff. It's playing ballads. It's extreme, doing more than words, and Mr. Big, and like, who is it that does Every Rose Has Its Thorn? Is it?
That's Great White, isn't it?
No, it's not Great White. It's
oh.
I want to say it's like Motley Crue, but that's not right.
No.
Anyway, the point being, it was not like gonna rip your face off.
Yeah.
Okay? And I'm not saying that Nirvana rips your face off, but when you're 12 years old, it does. And when you're watching a video where they burn down a school, it's just like, hell yeah, this is awesome, right?
Poison.
It was Poison. Was that Poison, really?
Yeah.
Jeez. Oh my God, that's so bad. Anyway, my point being, for me, the 90s start at the end of 1991. Like my whole long 1980s idea. I thought to myself, yeah, I mean, it's fine if we cover movies from like 90, 91 because they're still going to feel like the 80s. And I don't think that's always wrong either. We watched
Pretty Woman?
Pretty Woman. Pretty Woman feels like a movie from the 80s.
Yeah, that does.
It's like 1990, right? Slacker is, well, that's kind of its own thing.
Yeah, that's definitely its own thing.
It's very much its own thing. But like we'll watch some films that are kind of, in that liminal time period, but you still kind of feel like the 80s. I'm fascinated how much this movie actually feels like the 90s. Before we got on here, you said, yeah, this reminds me a little bit of To Live and Die in LA. And I completely understand what you mean by that. There's a lot of car chases, and it's about crime and bank robbers in LA and like all that stuff. But
it's funny. It's like crime doesn't pay. Also, cops suck.
Yeah, well, that's true. But what struck me in watching this is how much this feels more like the culture of the 90s. Now, let me explain why. One, you have this emphasis on extreme sports.
Yeah.
My memory of the 90s is being all about snowboarding, jumping out of airplanes, and, like base jumping and all that kind of stuff. And, everything has to be like extreme. In fact, the letter X was everywhere. The book Generation X had come out. They named an entire generation after it. Yeah. And in the long run, this is how we end up with freaking Twitter being renamed X, actually, if you think about it. Like, this is all related in a very annoying way.
It's Poochie culture.
It is Poochie culture. It is absolutely. And that episode is from the 90s.
It sure is.
This movie is 1991. This movie, I think, kind of creates movies of the 90s.
Yeah.
I think it sets a template.
Sure.
I didn't know it set a template, but I'm like, I feel like I'm looking at. Do you know the fossil of the bird dinosaur? Yes, that one. Yeah. Archaeopteryx or whatever the heck it's called. I can't remember what it's called, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's that one where it's just kind of like, yeah, it's a dinosaur, but that's definitely a bird. It's got feathers. And that's what we're looking at here. So you've got the emphasis on extreme sports, because these guys, like, I knew there was surfing, right? Yeah. The culture had kind of prepared me for the fact that it was guys in masks, like of the presidents, robbing banks, and they like to surf. I'm like, okay, I kind of picked up on that. I did not know how much skydiving is in this thing. They're jumping out of planes in this more than once. It's 2 whole things of like skydiving scenes, which is a lot for a movie.
Yeah.
There's a lot of surfing in this. There's almost as much surfing as in the movie Endless Summer. But there's a lot of skydiving. There's a lot of emphasis on like the extreme sports things, right? So that's number 1. But number 2, there is bad pop culture Buddhism.
Yeah.
Again, we go back to the band Nirvana. It ties together. So you have Patrick Swayze's character's name is Bodhi.
Yeah.
Short for Bodhisattva.
Yeah, man.
And a Bodhisattva...
He was named after a Steely Dan song.
Oh, God damn it.
Sorry.
I could end this podcast right now.
Sorry.
Don't make me turn this around. He's named Bodhi, as in he's a bodhisattva. And a bodhisattva in Buddhism is a spirit who has achieved nirvana, enlightenment.
Yeah, man.
But decides not to go and, become extinguished from existence. He decides to reincarnate in order to help others achieve enlightenment.
Not unlike his character in Roadhouse.
Yeah, he's got that whole kind of, weird philosopher vibe thing. In fact, I think he has like a degree in philosophy in that movie.
Yeah.
And then here...
Really Neil Breen vibes. But he has that same kind of, like I am so elevated amongst you normal people type of thing.
Yeah, he's the bank robber, but he's not doing it for the money exactly. He's doing it because he's trying to rebel against society and conformity and having a normal job. And his whole thing is they're robbing banks in order to pay for him and his crew to travel around the world and just keep surfing and doing extreme sports. Because they only are robbing banks in LA during the summer, which means they're only in LA during the summer, which is like when they're going surfing. He likes to put out there that he is some sort of a guru against conformity and being like a square. It's throwing around like Buddhist terms when it's really just like hippie nonsense, right?
Are we doing the Doors for this podcast?
Yeah, we will definitely do the Doors.
Because this is all that.
This is and you even bring up the Doors because this movie was originally called
Riders on the Storm.
Riders on the Storm. Yeah. Like, oh God, really? And the thing is, like, I kind of like the Doors, but you can't not roll your eyes at that stuff. Like the music rocks, right? With the Doors, like Peace Rock, that's a jam.
It is.
Yeah, man. Yeah. But when you start getting into all of his, philosophy,
He's a lizard king. He can do anything.
Well, we've got a similar thing here where we have a guy who thinks he is an enlightened being who can do anything because he is not really interested in, the money itself. It's what he can do with the money. To which I think, yeah, I don't necessarily want money myself either. I kind of just want to do stuff. I'd love to travel too, but I'm not robbing banks. And
he's kind of he wins in the end.
Oh, he does win in the end.
Yeah.
You could argue at the end of this that Keanu, boy, I don't feel like I said his name right at all, but who cares?
Yeah.
That he...
Johnny Utah.
Johnny Utah. Jeez, what a name.
I know.
It's amazing. That Johnny Utah has achieved some sort of enlightenment because he throws his badge away.
Yeah, man.
Just like at the end of High Noon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is just like High Noon.
This is absolutely it. Yeah, wait a minute. I've seen High Noon. Hold on.
So Gary Cooper's an amazing actor. He's had an amazing career, and so has Humphrey Bogart, Marlon Brando. All these guys had amazing careers. None of them, except for Patrick Swayze, gets to punch Anthony Kiedis in the face.
That's true.
So he has one up on them.
He absolutely does. Yeah, Anthony Kiedis is in this movie, man. What? When I'm watching a film and Flea shows up, I kind of go, hey, man, it's Flea.
Yeah.
Hey, awesome. Okay.
And he usually holds his own.
He does. Flea is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Man, and Flea shows up in, a lot of movies. Like, I feel like he showed up in a movie that we covered. Was he in Live and Die in L.A.? I don't remember.
He might have been.
Yeah, he probably was, like, in a small role. I mean, he was in, like...
I know we've seen him, but he the thing is, he's so kind of ubiquitous, and you're so used to seeing him. Like, when you see him, you're like, oh, it's Flea.
Yeah.
And then it's just, he goes away. It's like a character actor now.
Well, he is a character actor. He really legitimately is. He shows up in lots of different things, and,
And there's times when you like him, there's times when he's annoying. Like, you actually change your opinion on different roles.
Absolutely.
Anthony Kiedis, exactly how you feel, at least how I feel now. Like, I have nothing has changed.
Nope. I feel about him in this the same way I feel about him as I watch him in any of those videos.
Yeah. Now, I had seen this before, but I forgot he was in it. And as soon as I saw him, I was like, oh.
Yeah, what are we doing here?
And that hair, the cornrows, like, ooh.
I mean, he is perfectly cast.
Yeah.
He is the right guy in that moment. It's fine. I just find it fascinating. You've got two guys in this band that I have extremely mixed feelings about because I do not really like Red Hot Chili Peppers. Yeah. I do admire the musicianship of some of the people in that band. Mm-hmm. But Anthony Kiedis, man, what is that nonsense coming out of his mouth? I brought up Nirvana, and Red Hot Chili Peppers kind of got huge at around the same time. It was part of that same wave. I mean, they were already around.
Yeah.
They were already around, but they were ubiquitous on MTV when Blood Sugar Sex Magic came out. Mm-hmm. And it just showed Give It Away Now over and over again, and Under the Bridge over and over again. And I just got so sick of seeing them. So, like, whatever. That's not what's important. It's not even that I didn't even like the music. It was just like I was tired of Anthony Kiedis.
Yeah.
I don't know. Seeing him in this, I just felt, that feels about right.
And it feels like...
And it's 1991, which is the right year for that to happen.
Yeah. But it feels like even like Catherine Bigelow's like, yeah, we're going to beat this guy up.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah. I mean, he gets his foot shot off.
Yeah. She knows what we want, and she gives it the whole movie.
Yes. This really is like an example of, like, I don't know, maximalist.
Yeah.
Like, it's so over the top, while at the same time, like, trying to be a mellow vibe at times. That it's a really weird combination.
It's like a mellow vibe, but it also seems to be channeling, like, the volleyball scene from Top Gun.
Yes, for an entire film.
Yeah.
This is a very horny movie that has no actual sex in it.
No.
Like, we don't even see a sex scene between Keanu and Lori Petty.
The sex scene is when Keanu and Patrick are, like, trapped in the when they're, like, trapped in the parachute.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating that they give Keanu this love interest because, yeah, she's in it.
Yeah.
And look, I'm very happy to see her in this.
Lori Petty, Tank Girl.
Tank Girl.
This is before Tank Girl, I think.
This is before Tank Girl, and this is before A League of Their Own.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I always forget.
Yes.
She's great in that, too.
She is. I don't know if this is her big breakout role or what, but she is a big part of this film, and she is sort of used as the motivation for going after Bodhi at the end of the film because he's taken her
I just
hostage.
realized she has kind of Amanda Plummer vibes.
Yeah,
A little bit. Yeah.
Definitely. There's a number of people in this movie. Well, I don't want to say a number, but there's a couple other people in this movie. Gary Busey.
See, I was shocked you didn't know he was in this.
What? That I didn't know Gary Busey was in this?
Yeah, because
Why would I know?
There's scenes from this movie all over the place, and I just assumed you'd known he was in it.
I don't know, man. Like, if I don't know a thing, I don't retain the information.
This is from a time when I just watched cable 24/7. So like, even if I didn't see a movie, I would see commercials for a movie, and then I would just kind of absorb it.
But see, for whatever reason, and I mean, I was old enough to have noticed this movie when it came out. It came out the summer of '91. I would have been 12 years old, and I was like, this was the same summer that Terminator 2 came out, which was a big deal to me for some reason. I'm still not entirely sure why it was, because I had not seen Terminator.
Because there was that big Guns
N' Roses video?
Guns N' Roses video.
Yeah, that and the video game. Every time I went to the arcade down the shore, I was just throwing quarters into that T2 game.
No, I don't think I've ever played it.
Oh, you hold a machine gun and you shoot at Terminators.
Nice.
It was pretty good. I really liked that game for some reason. Yeah, I don't know. I was really into the movie T2. So like, it's not like I didn't know that this movie came out, but I just didn't pay attention to who was in it. So yeah, Gary Busey is sort of like the mentor to Keanu Reeves in
He's
this.
kind of the only adult in this film.
It depends on how you define an adult.
Yeah.
Because you could argue that the other guy who's in this, John C. McGinley,
Right.
Dr. Cox from Scrubs,
Yes.
I guess he's an adult.
Guess
he's
it just feels like a lot of like young guys like jockeying.
Oh,
you know?
yeah, definitely. Well, because that's the thing. He's like swaggering into this, and his role is basically yell at people, be really hard on our two beloved FBI agents. Yeah. Beloved, I don't know. This movie just opens with surfing, which is great. Again, there's so much surfing in this. Last summer, we watched Endless Summer for the first time, which is a movie from the 60s about surfing. And
we watched it projected on a wall at the beach.
Oh, it was like perfect.
Fun.
Yeah. Aside from
good vibe. Did we watch it twice?
No, we wanted to watch it twice. We didn't get a chance.
Yeah.
That's a movie where if you kind of excise sort of the cringy stuff in Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is, I guess it's supposed to be kind of parodying nature documentaries of the time, but it's kind of like, I know what you're trying to do here, guys, but that's not cool. If you get past that part, the rest of the movie is really good.
Yeah.
Endless Summer. It's amazing. That's a really amazing documentary. And I watched that and I was just like, I need to watch that again. And I truly did fall in love with the idea of spending the rest of your life just chasing waves around the globe. You have to understand, guys, look, I am a 43-year-old? 44? How old am I?
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm in my mid-40s.
Yeah.
I've got arthritis. I'm overweight, but I do exercise and, I run and stuff, but I'm not athletic. And I'm watching this movie last year, and I'm just like, yeah, I need to learn to surf. I want to do this. I just want to spend the rest of my life chasing waves. This looks amazing. So yeah, watching this film, I'm just kind of like,
Superchunk got it right.
Superchunk absolutely got it right. Yes, man. So I'm watching this movie, and I'm kind of like, I don't know, man. I guess I get it. I'm kind of on Bodhi's side. Just rob banks and learn to surf. Because I'm watching this, and like they point out at one point, these guys are in and out in 90 seconds.
Yeah.
They never shoot anybody.
Right.
Weirdly, like, non-violent, even though they're threatening people, but they never have killed anybody. As I said on the To Live and Die in LA episode, money is fake anyway. Like, they can just print more of those bills.
Yeah.
It's all fiat currency. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. So, like, I'm watching this. I'm like, okay, I know you have to go and catch these guys, but do you have to go and catch these guys? In fact, if you think about it, the only reason the rest of this movie ends in a bloodbath is because they intervened.
Right.
The FBI. If the FBI had not stepped in, I'll bet you there would never have been any shootings.
Yeah.
They would have been able to just keep riding the waves. Nobody would have gotten hurt. So yeah, I'm watching this. I'm just like, I know we're supposed to go after these guys, but what if we didn't?
Yeah.
And you know what? That's kind of what Keanu starts to think after a while. I mean, he's definitely conflicted in this film, Much like The Godfather, this is about the temptation of evil.
So what movies have we compared this to? Oh, High Noon
High Noon,
and The Godfather.
The Godfather, and Casablanca.
Yeah.
Yeah. It turns out you're kind of right, though. There are a bunch of things in here that I'm just like, oh, is that where that comes from?
Yeah.
Like, there is at one point, God, I was going to call him Dr. Cox. John C. McGinley, accuses Keanu Reeves of being young, dumb, and full of cum. And I'm like, oh, is that where that comes from?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it comes from something earlier, but
Have you heard the I am an FBI agent?
I've heard.
Yeah.
Yes, I have heard it, but I had no idea what that was referring to. And it is so much funnier in context.
You saw the scene in where he shoots in the air. I think they actually show it in Hot Fuzz.
And I had forgotten they show it in Hot Fuzz.
And he can't shoot him because he loves him so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he sees his eyes and he realizes who it is.
Yeah.
You got this gang, the ex-presidents, who are robbing banks and surfing around the world, which, sweet gig. Keanu plays a guy named Johnny Utah, which is an amazing name. Like, okay, I get it. There's a guy named Joe Montana. So I shouldn't be like that kind of weirded out by like Johnny Utah. That's just such an over-the-top name. But you know what? It just is. So he's brought in because he's young. He's like 25. Yeah. And they need a guy who's going to go after, like, break up this gang because the Gary Busey character has a theory that they're surfers. And, it checks out. This is what it is. That he has this idea that they're using the money to go around the world.
By the way, the presidents are... So it's LBJ, it's Jimmy Carter, Nixon, and Reagan. And yet again, Gerald Ford gets skipped over. Nobody cares.
No. Do you think there are Gerald Ford masks out there?
He's a famous football guy. They couldn't have given Keanu Reeves a Gerald Ford mask.
Well, I guess that would be the most appropriate one, to be honest. Yeah, you're right. Because Johnny Utah, you are jumping ahead. Johnny Utah was a college football star.
Yeah.
All-American. In fact, there is a scene in here where when he introduces himself to the gang while they're in surfer mode. Yeah. And so, nobody knows that who each other is in terms of like criminals and whatnot.
It's kind of like when Batman meets like Catwoman and stuff like that. And then later they're at a party and they're in
their civvies.
Yeah.
Yeah. When he introduces himself, I'm Johnny Utah, and they're like, oh, you're the famous football player.
Yeah.
College football. And I'm watching this, I'm just like, yeah, I guess people do that. They would know who a college football star was. I don't. I mean, I know, in fact, we know people who would know that type of stuff, but not me.
If you heard, he said, oh, you played against USC.
Yeah.
We know someone that would definitely know.
Yeah, that's true.
Like the stats of anyone playing against USC at any one time.
Yeah, I hear that and I'm just like, oh, I don't follow this at all. I really don't follow college football. Like my mom, I don't think she follows individual players, but like she'll follow teams. But like, you start talking college football to me and you may as well be speaking in Greek.
See, I'm a Temple fan, so I don't follow college football.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I'm an 80s Temple fan, so I liked Coach Chaney with like Temple basketball. College football was not a thing in Temple at the time.
I don't know that it's a thing now. They keep trying to make it a thing.
Every now and then they get to be 8-8 or something like that. But...
Oh wow! So yeah, he is recruited to infiltrate the gang because he's young, and so he has to learn to surf. And so he meets Lori Petty at a snack shack on the beach and convinces her to teach him to surf.
Oh no! First, she saves him.
Oh, that's right.
He tries surfing. And,
you're right.
Yeah.
I completely forgot. He tries surfing and he doesn't know what he's doing. He just about kills himself and he smacks into her, and she ends up saving him. And he then convinces her later to teach him to surf.
Yeah.
And he lies to her
so he can meet the 8 guys that surf.
Yeah.
In LA.
Surely she must know all of the surfers.
4 of whom are bank robbers and 4 of whom are meth dealers.
And amongst those meth dealers is Anthony Kiedis.
Yes.
Yes, he is in the rival gang. Yeah.
Just think about this. Like, so Gary Busey, he figures out they're surfers. Look at the tan line. Like, these are like the most wanted like bank robbers or something, these ex-presidents. So he buys a surfboard and then just hangs out in the water and meets the 8 guys that are criminals and surfers.
All 8 of them, and the only 8 in all of Southern California.
Like, I don't think we see any other surfers that are Maybe in the background there might be one guy or something. The meth guys are apparently Nazis, according to.
We don't actually see any Nazi paraphernalia.
No, and I was like kind of surprised they used that word, and I think because it's so charged now, I think at the time it was like, yeah, Nazis. Whatever.
But, you know, it's really funny you say that. It does stand out now when we have actual Nazis running around the country.
Yeah.
And at the time...
Like, we know what Nazis are now.
Yeah. And I have a feeling in 1991, it didn't hold quite the same punch.
Yeah.
Like, it was more of a punchline for somebody to be a Nazi. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's weird. It's kind of like when you're watching The Big Lebowski and, you know, they make the joke about, you know, they're nihilists. They're not, they're not National Socialists, you know, at least that's an ethos.
Yeah.
And you laugh at it in 1998 or whatever. And now you kind of go, okay, it was funny, but we have actual Nazis now.
Yeah.
It's not quite the same joke these days. I'd much rather have a nihilist to deal with.
Yeah. Who was the director he was based on?
John Milius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure John Milius said something like that at some point.
Oh, yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all, actually. So, yeah, he falls in with these surfers because of Lori Petty, and he just is absolutely, like, smitten in some sense with Bodhi.
Yeah.
Patrick Swayze.
Yeah.
Who just takes him under his wing.
And there's Lori Petty, I guess.
I know. She just feels like a consolation prize in all of this.
I feel so bad for her in this movie.
They don't give her a whole lot to do except to be a pawn.
Yeah.
It's kind of a bummer, man. They couldn't make an openly homoerotic big budget surf crime movie.
Not back then.
Not back
I think
then.
now you could definitely.
No. 5 years ago you could. Now I think you'd get banned in half the states of the country.
So there's a remake of this, and
that's from like 2015.
I don't know if I want to watch it.
Yeah, I don't know. So he falls in with the surfers, and he just gets into their whole lifestyle. There's a scene in here where he goes to a party that they're throwing at a beach house, and I was watching this and I just thought to myself, you know what? You don't see a lot of these days in movies, just party scenes like this.
Yeah.
And you see them a lot in the 80s and the 90s where you have...
Yeah, it's at the same point in the movie as, like, Valley Girl.
Yeah.
Like that party. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely, like, something that was just done in those days, and it's there for character development. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily, like, forwarding the plot in the sense of, like, this is not a movie that's, like, plot. There's a lot of just, like, kind of vibe creation. There's a lot of just character development. And, like... It's forwarding the plot insofar as you can see how Johnny is falling in love with the lifestyle and the whole hanging out with Bodhi and everything, and doing the extreme sports, the skydiving. Like, they do all that stuff just to kind of like get you to understand the character and like explain his motivation, especially for the end. And a lot, movies have kind of lost that in a lot of ways. So that things are often like you just kind of gotta go plot point to plot. Mm-hmm. And we need to come back to having just party scenes. Yeah. Party scenes that just kind of explore the characters a little bit and kind of help explain their motivations.
You know what movie this is? Just is. This is The Lost Boys.
Oh my God, you're right.
It's like The Lost Boys without the kids.
Yeah.
Even with, like, where David, the lead vampire, their downfall is that he kind of falls for the lead guy.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's the same thing with this. Trading in fangs for surfboards.
So we see them breaking up like the other gang, and there's a lot of like car chases and crime stuff. There's a great scene where him and his partner, Johnny and his partner, are having a stakeout, and they're very bored. Yeah. And so he goes to get a meatball sandwich at a sandwich place, and across the street is a bank. And when he's not paying attention, what happens? Well, obviously the ex-presidents show up to rob the bank. Yeah, now, they were there waiting the whole time. They knew that this was the bank, I think, right?
I don't know how they figured out which bank it was, but, like, these guys are not, like, the French Connection cops.
Oh, my God, no. They go in to rob the bank. This gets Johnny involved in it, trying to chase. Mm-hmm. He ends up going and chasing them through the city.
Yeah, there's a great scene where, like, Johnny says, "Stop, FBI!" and you see Patrick Swayze in the Reagan mask look at him, and he stops another guy from shooting him and stuff like. Oh my God, it's him.
Yeah, no, and this is the lead up to the great scene. The ultimate scene that like is referenced in stuff like Hot Fuzz. Of he has this chase through the city. Yeah, and he's like, and again. I know I keep going and referencing that movie because it's the only thing I'd seen before. But like the whole thing with the leaping over the fences and everything.
Yeah.
This is where that comes from.
But there's also the flaming car.
Oh man, the flaming car. That is so absurd. Like this movie has a scene. Like the ex-presidents have the one car run into the ground, more or less.
Yeah.
So they go to a gas station where there's a second car for them to get into, and Bodhi in Reagan mask takes a gas station nozzle. What do you call those?
Yeah.
Nozzle.
Nozzle.
Yeah. Anyway, and lights it on fire so that it becomes a flamethrower.
Yeah.
And like I don't think this would actually work. I don't care if this would work. Like he sets everything on fire this way, and it looks amazing.
It really does.
It is so
and
cool.
the fact that he's Reagan doing this, it's like, wow.
It's very subtle
Yeah.
political commentary, obviously. Keanu is chasing Patrick Swayze through the city as, Swayze's wearing the Reagan mask. And then, you get to this moment where Johnny's got a trick knee. And so the trick knee is always going out.
Oh, this happens during the chase.
Yeah.
Because he falls.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't have a trick knee during the chase. He doesn't get that until he falls onto the L.A. River.
Yeah, but this is the same chase.
Yeah. I'm just saying he didn't have a trick knee before then.
No, he did have a trick knee before then. That's why. No, listen to me. This is why he stopped being a football player.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess. You're right.
Yeah.
But he was running fine before then. But he lands
But that's
on his...
why it's a trick knee, because sometimes it goes out and sometimes it doesn't. You don't understand. You don't have a bad knee.
It's not great.
Did you play football in college?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
You were an art student.
Well, they spent money for the school on the football stadium, so
Instead of for the art school, yeah.
Kind of like
It's like being on the football team.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, his knee goes out during during the chase, and that's where you get that scene of Reagan whips around, and because he can see his eyes, he can see who it actually is under the mask, and so he's like, stop, freeze, I'll shoot you, and then he's just like, he just holds the gun in the air because he can't actually shoot him because
man.
he's so enamored with this guy,
Yeah.
and there's something so like obviously sexual about shooting off the gun in that moment, it's so and like, because it's like this thing that can never like really be expressed in this film, and yet it's there the whole time. And it's amazing because, like I said earlier, like there are so many like sexual references in this movie, like all sorts of kind of like jokes and whatnot, and yet like there's not a lot of like actual sex that happens. It's just sort of everywhere.
Like the volleyball scene and
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because now that Bodhi has seen that Johnny is an FBI agent, then the rest of the film is basically them one-upping each other and trying to...
also Lori Petty finds out.
Well, that's true, yeah.
And she shoots his pillow like it's...
There's a lot of guns in this.
Yeah, it's a little bit like the Goodfellas holding the gun.
Well, it's
thing.
not quite as tense as the
No,
scene
no.
of Karen holding the gun at Henry's head.
Right.
That's a pretty intense scene.
Yeah,
This is not quite that.
it's close.
No, it is. No. Keanu gets picked up by Patrick Swayze
Yeah.
and taken for like a couple of rides, really. And this is after the chase. Nobody's quite tipping their hand just yet as to who knows what about each other.
Yeah.
So like that's when they do the skydiving, right?
Although we know that they know he's
Like we all know that they both kind of know, but neither of them
Columbo
know.
style. We
Yeah,
know. Yeah.
exactly. So they take him skydiving, and he has this like amazing revelation of the adrenaline rush of doing like these extreme sports, even beyond the surfing,
Yeah, man.
And like I'm watching this, and I mean, Patrick Swayze was actually jumping out of planes and stuff in this movie, which is nuts. Apparently, he was a skydiver.
And Keanu got into it. Apparently, he made Gary Busey do it.
Oh God.
Yeah. He kept badgering him, and then finally.
I mean, Gary Busey wasn't young.
No.
I mean, did he shatter apart? Sorry, I'm just watching this. I'm just like, no, you don't don't take up Gary, because Gary Busey had to be at least in his like late 40s, maybe early 50s in this. I'm just saying, I'm of the age where I'm like, no, I will not go skydiving. Are you insane?
Speaking of age, I love the scene where he buys a surfboard from like this 15-year-old kid. And it's like, oh yeah, guys your age. Yeah, I've seen guys your age start it up. I hope you keep at it, man.
Yeah, I do like a teenager trash talking a guy in his 20s. Yeah. So they go skydiving and kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop. So after they do like the skydiving and everything, and it's like everybody's so chummy and it's great. That's when it's revealed that, of course, Lori Petty's been kidnapped.
Girls.
I know. Again, she only exists as a pawn. She's not really a person in this. So yeah, because she's been kidnapped, now the rest of the film is Bodhi being able to blackmail Johnny into coming along with them on a robbery. It all goes horribly wrong. And I've been trying to think about, ever since like I saw this scene, like they go to do another robbery, and of course he doesn't have a mask. And so the whole, I guess, idea is in part to ruin Johnny's career, right? One of the things that they point out early in the film is the ex-presidents never bother to go to the vault.
Yeah.
Like, they're very clean. They get in, they get out, nobody gets hurt. And in this, during the robbery, Bodhi says, go raid the vault.
Yeah.
Now, I assume the idea is we're going to, like, basically be here longer than we should be so that Johnny gets caught red-handed. But I don't know. Like, why does he decide suddenly we're going to raid the vault?
I feel like it's just some kind of self-destructive thing.
You think he just decided to, like, trash everything because he feels betrayed by Johnny?
Yeah. And I think he's just trying to up things. I don't know.
Because that ruins the entire robbery. Mm-hmm. Because they're taking too long, there's an off-duty cop who decides to shoot his way out of the whole situation, and that incites a bloodbath. And it's kind of amazing watching this because you can see that the security guard is looking at the cop like, no, don't do this. This is a terrible idea. Just let them do their thing and get out. And frankly, the security guard is right.
Yeah.
Because the bank is full of people. And so, like, this is not really the way to handle a bunch of guys with, sawed-off shotguns and whatnot. But no, this off-duty cop decides that he's going to take down the whole robbery gang. And, of course, as we said, a bloodbath ensues. A couple of the ex-presidents get shot. Johnny gets caught. And he's going to be sent off to jail by McGinley, his boss, until, of course, Gary Busey, his partner, steps in and says, no, let me take him in. Don't make him go into the back of a cop car. Let's give him some dignity. And, of course, the idea is to actually spring him so that they can go and catch Bodhi and the rest of the gang.
I know where they're going.
Exactly.
But we can't shoot them.
No, whatever you do, just don't shoot them, please.
No, because Lori Petty is...
Yeah, I know it's because of Lori Petty, but is it really because of Lori Petty?
Yeah, of course it is.
No, it isn't. I mean, yeah, okay, the idea is that she's being held hostage and Bodhi is the only person who knows where she's being held hostage. Sure thing, movie. That's why. That's why he doesn't want to actually shoot Bodhi. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. They go off to the airport. Johnny's trying to argue that, look, if you're going to get away, fine, but at least let Lori go. Bodhi's just toying with him the whole time.
I think he says, like, the ride ends now, and he's like, the ride never ends, or something like that.
Oh, yeah. There's so much great, stupid dialogue in this. There was a scene earlier in the film where Bodhi is giving his justification for why they're robbing banks, and it's, we stand for something, we're like, fighting the system, and you're listening to this, like, kind of absurd speech, and it's really funny to listen to, like, his self-justification for what they do. Because all I could think about was Hans Gruber.
Oh, yeah.
Because, of course, he gives this entire speech about how, we're funding, like, communist revolutions or whatever. And later in the film, he's just like, no, we just want the money. Yeah, this is all nonsense. And, you're listening to this self-justification, and all I could think of was like, no, you just want the money.
Hans Gruber is has more, I was going to say noble. What's a better word? I don't know.
Hans Gruber is a bit more honest about his motivations.
Right.
He's much more self-aware.
Yeah.
Bodhi, I mean, he's a fascinating character because he's definitely a type of guy who goes so far up their own butt about, why they do what they do, and like dressing it up in all sorts of like new age spiritual language. I mean, he calls himself a freaking bodhisattva. I mean, my God.
He's like the surfing Oppenheimer.
No. Now wait. Well, no. I mean, he's definitely a type of guy that, especially I remember, running into like in college in the late 90s, like dressing up your own selfish motivations in like spiritual language is definitely a thing. But because it's specifically like quasi-Buddhist New Age stuff, that feels very 90s.
I'm saying, like Oppenheimer, he keeps saying, oh, it's for about beating the Nazis.
Yeah.
But in the end, he's dropping it on Japan, and it's like, well, it's the same thing. I wish it was the Nazis. It works,
I mean,
in a way.
I don't know. Like, you're getting into like what the motivations were for the Manhattan Project.
I'm getting into the movie, not talking about the history.
Well, no, but I think it's actually kind of important, and also like I think the movie's more complicated than that.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
It's exactly
I'm cutting this little bit. I'm sorry, honey.
I'm saying that Oppenheimer is Point Break.
Damn it! That's almost reason enough to leave this stupid thing in.
Just leave that line in. Don't say anything else.
So they get to the airport. They're going to take off, and Johnny wants to try to stop him and just get Laurie free. And Gary Busey bites it. Johnny ends up more or less being taken hostage himself on the airplane. And they end up flying over Mexico. And the whole time he's trying to get Laurie free.
It's just Bodie and one other guy.
Yeah, we're down to one dude.
Who's dying.
Who is, everybody's been shot of the gang. And they're flying over Mexico, and they throw the one dying member out. And you get the sense that, he really wants to believe that if this guy just, gets out, he can skydive his way and be, like, picked up and, like, sent to a hospital or something. But it's like, well, no, come on, man. But I love that kind of, he's so convinced of, like, what he's doing that, this obviously is not going to work, and he still goes for it.
It's like Jim Morrison and John Densmore is left. And
Is this what happened with the Doors?
a little bit.
Okay. I don't know. Anyway.
The reverse Doors. If Jim Morrison lived and
the
rest of them all died.
Oh, Jesus. Wow, man.
Anyway.
Yeah, and then Jim Morrison went on to produce like X's first couple records, and no, God. So then Patrick Swayze's gonna like jump out the airplane to freedom and leave Keanu Reeves in the airplane and Lori Petty to die because he's not going to release her, as far as he knows. As far as Johnny knows.
Yeah.
But this is instead what happens. So Patrick Swayze jumps out the airplane.
But he drops the gun. Do you think he knew that Johnny would...
Well, we haven't gotten to the gun part yet.
No, he drops the gun when he jumps out of the plane. Remember?
No, he doesn't.
Yes.
Who drops the gun?
Bodie drops the gun in front of him. And it's
I know what you're saying. Okay, okay. Okay, I see what you're talking about. So when Patrick Swayze, Bodie, goes to jump out of the plane, he drops the gun that he's holding Keanu Reeves hostage with.
Yeah.
Jumps out the plane. Does he assume that Keanu is going to jump out the plane and follow him? Yes, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yes. So what happens is...
He does.
Johnny Utah... Johnny Utah picks up the gun and jumps out of the plane without a parachute because he's going to just will himself to meet up and grab Bodie in mid-flight, because they did something similar earlier when they were skydiving, and I don't think it actually works that way. Right?
No, it does.
Does it?
Well, so Anne was talking about there's a Mythbusters, I guess, where I guess they check to see how far up from the ground you need to open the chute.
Well, I don't care so much about that part as the fact that he jumps out of a plane and just wills himself to, be able to meet up with Patrick Swayze, who's already like plummeting to Earth.
Yeah, but if you can fly like an eagle, like they said.
I mean, I guess, he now has the powers of flight. I've seen The Matrix.
Yeah.
Sure. So that's what happens is he just kind of throws himself out of the airplane and he Supermans his way into the arms of Patrick Swayze.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, they're like falling to the earth together, and he's got the gun pointed at Patrick Swayze, and he's like, pull the cord, and he's like, yeah, I'll pull, you pull the cord, drop the gun. And so it's basically a tug of war of who's going to actually finally give in and pull the ripcord so that they don't die. And eventually, of course, Johnny gives in, throws away the gun, because he really doesn't want to kill this guy. I mean, yeah, okay, fine. Oh, maybe I'll still get Lori free. Well, yeah, I don't think he really cares. Throws away the gun, pulls the ripcord. They both plummet to the earth and survive. Although they're so close to the earth when that thing gets pulled. There's like you would break your legs into like just tiny little pieces. There's no way.
Unless you're, like really riding the wave.
What wave? They're in the Mexican desert.
The wave of life, man. The wave of life.
Well, the wave of life catches up with them because everybody's dead except for Bodhi.
The wave of life catches up with us all. Yeah.
Truck comes out of the desert. Lori gets out of the truck, or is thrown out for all I know. And
The love interest.
The love interest, who, this is the last we see of her, I think.
Yeah, it is.
It really is. She gets out. Bodhi gets into the truck, drives off.
In fact, as he's driving off, you just see Johnny just staring at Bodhi. He's not even looking at Lori.
Oh, yeah. Lori doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
Next thing, we cut to Australia.
Yep.
And we see Johnny driving around in Australia looking just haggard. I mean, I don't know how haggard a 25-year-old Keanu Reeves can actually look, but we'll pretend. Like, his hair's stringy, at least.
Yeah.
So
actually looking more like the Keanu Reeves we picture normally.
Actually, yeah, no. I mean, you can see where this is the guy who becomes John Wick.
Yeah.
Definitely. But yeah, so he pulls up. He's driving around in Australia, and there's a massive storm, and it's raining, and he's down at the beach, and all these surfers are walking away from the beach. He's like, "Is anybody out there?" Like, "Nah, man. It's the biggest wave that's ever come to Australia, but like nobody can get out there because it's raining so hard." So he knows this is it. He's finally found him. He's spent a year tracking Bodhi, and he's finally found him. And so standing on the beach is just a man in what looks like robes at this point.
Looks like a rug.
Well, okay, I was being generous. Yeah, he does look like he's just wearing a rug.
Yeah.
So he's standing on the beach, staring out at the sea, and of course it is Bodhi. And it's Johnny is here to take him in.
Yeah, he throws his Reagan mask at his feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Bodhi is he knows he's been caught. And they put the cuffs on him.
Well, they fight, and then while he's trying to drown him, he puts the cuffs on him.
Well, okay, yeah, there's a fight. Yes, fine.
It's a fight.
Oh.
It counts.
Sure. Do you think it's really that much of a fight? I think they just miss touching each other.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what fights are, man.
So, yeah, he arrests him. All these cops start swarming onto the beach.
Helicopter. In the crazy storm of the century.
Look, this is the most wanted man ever.
Yeah.
Because he robbed a couple of banks.
A lot of banks.
Okay, he maybe killed like 2 guys.
Yeah.
You have to have every cop in Australia and America, apparently, show up. What does Johnny do? Because Body's just like, yeah, you've got me, but you gotta let me just get this one last wave. Because it is like it's like a perfect cresting wave that's gonna hit. And like, I get it. Again, we saw in the summer. I understand what this guy wants. He just wants to go out on that wave. Like, this is it. This is the end for me. And it's basically a suicide mission. And Johnny says, yeah. Why? Because deep down, he does love Bodhi.
Yeah.
And he understands, yeah, I could arrest you and continue to be an FBI agent, but no, I'm going to let you go out on your own terms. So he unlocks the cuffs and sends him off into the sea. Vaya con Dios. Bodhi goes out, gets his board up, and of course he gets dashed by the waves. A hero's death.
And then
Johnny takes out his FBI badge, throws it to the ground.
Throws it into the water.
You're right.
Not the ground.
Oh, how dare I? It's the shoreline. I mean, whatever. It's the same thing. He throws it into the water and walks away.
Throws it to Neptune.
Sure. Sacrifice to the gods.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the movie.
Yeah. It's a great ending.
Oh, no, it's awesome. I mean, like we said, it does borrow from High Noon.
Yeah.
But that's it. Bodhi is dead. He is swallowed by the sea, as he should be. Johnny is no longer an FBI agent. He quits. We don't know what happens to him. He goes off to walk the earth, I guess. And I guess to some extent he's going to take on the mantle of Bodhi.
Yeah.
Who acted as a bodhisattva to let Johnny achieve enlightenment about what really matters in life. And it is not the law. It is tasty waves.
He is now John Utah.
God. This
Jonathan-
movie is
Jonathan
so stupid.
Utah.
This movie is so stupid. I love it.
Yeah.
I really, it is exactly what I thought it was going to be, only even more so. And I'm so glad. It's ridiculous. Like I said, it very much, I think it does set the template for a lot of films that came in the 90s. Like this is, like we said earlier, this is Keanu's first, like action role. And I mean, this from here, like he does, you said he does Speed and he does The Matrix and he's John Wick and he's all these other things. But this is like the first iteration.
Yeah.
And he's young. He's only like 26.
Yeah.
But he had done a lot of films before this, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's great. Patrick Swayze is like amazing as like a smart dumb criminal. I don't even know how else to put it.
Yeah.
It's
I think he actually tried out for Johnny Utah initially.
You know what? I don't think I would have liked that as much.
No.
I think he's great as Bodhi.
And at one point, and so you had thought Val Kilmer.
I don't know why I thought that.
But apparently, like Johnny Depp and Val Kilmer had tried out for this movie, or were considered, and yeah, I could see both.
Oh no, actually, like if Johnny Depp had been the Johnny Utah character, that would not have shocked me at all.
Yeah.
You brought up Donnie Brasco.
Yeah, I'm sorry I gave away the.
Well, you didn't exact. I mean, like it kind of clued me in, like, oh, is that what happens in the film? But in retrospect, yeah, no, it makes sense. So that was Point Break, starring Keanu Reeves, Patrick Swayze, Gary Busey, Lori Petty. Who else is in this?
John McGinley.
John C. McGinley. And yeah, Anthony Kiedis shows up. Well, yeah. He's correctly cast in this.
He
though.
really is.
Yeah.
Oh, he shoots himself in the foot, by the way.
Oh, he shot himself in the foot. That's even funnier.
It really is.
Directed by Catherine Bigelow and written by Rich King and W. Peter Iliff. This movie rocks.
It was written in '86.
It's funny, yeah. So it was written in the 80s.
Yeah.
And, it had a bit of a while in development. But I swear to God, this movie is so 90s. No, I am dead serious. I really think that this movie was more foundational to what came after than I realized. I know we mostly cover movies from the 80s on this show. And I really thought, it's Wiggle Room. And I'm like, oh my God, this is not Wiggle Room. This feels like a different era of movies than what we've been watching. It really feels different. There's just something about it. And like I said, it's the extreme sports. It's the kind of dumb new age, like justifications for stuff. There's just something about it that feels different from the 80s.
Feels like there are a lot of sections of bookstores dedicated to parts of this film.
What do you mean?
Oh, I mean, there was like a spiritual section. There's a
yeah.
surfing section. There's a skydiving. Like, and it's all like the same type of. I don't know.
Yeah.
Gotta ride the wave, man.
So you can follow us on social media. We're Mary VS Movies on Twitter. Yeah, that's right. I'm not saying the other one. I don't care what they call it. So yeah, on Twitter. We are Mary VS. Yeah, we are Mary VS Movies on Blue Sky. MaryVSMovies.mas.to on Mastodon. Mary VS Movies on Instagram.
How's Mastodon doing these days?
Meh, kind of boring.
I haven't really been on.
Yeah.
Ever, actually.
Do you even have an account?
I do, but I could never get into it. So.
Oh, I mean, it's more stable than it was, but it's, I don't know. It's kind of dull. Mary versus the Movies on Tumblr. And website, no, don't ask. You can listen to us on all of the major platforms. We are on Apple Podcasts, where you can rate and review us, and we would really appreciate it if you did. We are on Spotify, where you can also rate and review us, and it would be nice if you did. You can get our RSS feed and plug it into whatever your podcatcher of choice is. So you can probably listen to us on Overcast, Google Play. I don't know, what are some of the other ones? Pocket Casts, I guess. I don't know. Whatever you use, you can probably find us on there. We have a Patreon where you can help support the show. And for $3 a month, you will get access to our secondary podcast, Hollywood Avalon, where we watch films of an Arthurian bent and review them much like we do on this show. Although sometimes I've already seen that movie. But I bring my interest in medieval, Arthurian, and Celtic literature to that podcast, and it's a lot of fun.
What's the next movie?
Next movie is going to be Knight Riders, the George Romero film about
right.
basically like a traveling Ren Fair on motorcycles, but it's kind of like also a rewrite of Lamort Arthur. And I saw it in college, and it's kind of an awesome movie.
Cool.
But like a more interesting and introspective film than, when you put it the way I did. So that is going to be our next episode. It will be Knight Riders. But we've covered films like Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, The Kid Who Would Be King, The Knights of the Round Table, First Night, which sucked. Still hate that movie. And so we've watched a number of films for that movie, that podcast, and it's a lot of fun. And if you sign up to our Patreon, you can get access to that. But you are also helping to support the show because this show does cost money to make. We have to rent movies, we have to pay for the Zoom account, we have to pay for the Ellipsin account.
And we have swag though, or we're having trouble like getting that stuff together right now. But.
Yeah, the swag has an issue because we moved and we're still trying to find all of our stuff. We can make buttons, but we were having trouble with stickers.
Yeah.
And we actually do owe people some swag.
I'm sorry.
We apologize. Yeah, Dennis, this is all on you.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's on both of us. So we do apologize for that, but that will hopefully get out soon. In fact, why don't we just buy more sticker paper? Well, anyway, the point is, this is about as DIY a show as you can get. We're not on any networks. We're not, connected to anything. This is just me and Dennis putting the show together with the occasional guest. And so, any support that you can throw at us is really appreciated. If you sign up for the Patreon, you automatically get our newsletter, but you don't have to sign up to the Patreon in order to get access to our newsletter. Every week when we release our show, we also release a newsletter. And in that, we talk about things like what movies have we been watching? Do we have any extra thoughts on the film that we just watched? Dennis reviews pizza. There's all kinds of things like what have we been reading? It's just kind of like another way to keep the conversation going. So you can get access to the newsletter either by DMing me on Twitter or dropping us an email by emailing us at maryvsmovies@gmail.com. You can write to us there. You can write to us anyway. If you have any thoughts on the show, again, it's maryvsmovies@gmail.com. So I think that's all of the stupid spiel I have to do after the show. It's a lot. Anyway, next week, we're going back to the beach. But we're not watching the movie Back to the Beach. Although someday I would love to do that with you because you've never seen it, right?
No, what's that?
Oh, well, maybe next year we'll watch Back to the Beach as a Dennis versus the movies.
Oh.
But next week, we are going to watch a movie that Dennis is not looking forward to.
No.
Jaws 2. So I know that's actually more like the late 70s. That is not the 80s, just like this was the early 90s, and it was very 90s. I'll be kind of interested in seeing, like, does this still feel like the 70s? Does this feel like a real, genuine sequel to the Spielberg classic Jaws, one of the greatest films ever made? I can already see the look here. Yeah.
I'm gonna, spoiler alert, no. Maybe it's better than I remember. I don't know.
No, I'm sure it's terrible. But we're going to watch it anyway because next year I want to do Jaws 3 and then the year after that, Jaws 4. Because why not?
See, I want to see those, and I've seen Jaws 3, and I know it's bad. It's boring. It's terrible. But Jaws, and I've seen Jaws 2, but I haven't seen Jaws 4. I really want to see that.
Well, you're gonna have to wait.
Yeah.
Because next week is Jaws 2. So yes, join us next week when we watch Jaws 2.
Yay.
So until next time.
This Calvin and Hobbes is funny.